there's this operation, you can look at it, called Fenton Communications. They are they're the left wing equivalent. Viggory does this for the right, but these people they are a big PR agency, huge, actually the biggest, that are always involved in public policy issues.
Are they bigger than Hill and Knowlton?
Well, for this sort, for left wing, specific targeted left wing initiatives, they're the biggest in the world in terms of doing stuff for big governments. They're small potatoes compared to Hill and Knowlton, but right now they're apparently working for Qatar as part of a disinformation campaign to defame Israel.
Oh.
And this is kind of typical of, what we heard from Melanie Phillips a couple of shows ago, where she says all these left-wing groups have a lot in common with the Islamists, is that they all hate the Jews. And of course, we got a bunch of mail about this. And so let me read to you from a blog called FresnoZionism.org. And so after I read this for the first, I said, well, this is undocumented. But a lot of this is documented. There is actually some paperwork showing that they've signed up to be a foreign agent on behalf of a website that you can look at called Fahora.org, which is in Qatar, and it's run by the second wife. They said it's the wife of the ruler, but she's actually the second of three wives. She's the middle one. And it's FAKHOORA.org, and this is presumably an operation that is supposed to be involved with giving kids scholarships, and it seems that most of the scholarships are to study Islamic law. But if you really look at the website, the homepage, and anything in there, it's really about slamming Israel over the situation with the Turkish ships.
And by the way, I think that when you say Jews in this case, are we not speaking of Zionists and Zionism?
No, we're talking about Israelis, essentially.
Okay.
The Jewish state.
Okay.
Because this PR agency actually represents a Jewish organization which is involved with women's rights, even though they got nothing to do with anything in the Middle East. So let me just read a couple of notes here. Fenton Communications, apparently... this is from the blog I'll read. Today, their goal is to prevent the Jewish state, they're talking about this PR company, from defending itself by creating a mass of public opinion that sees its self-defense as war crimes, and to prevent the Jewish state from defending itself so that its enemies can finally succeed in doing what they've been trying to do since Israel was born, destroy it. These guys have been, they're allied with MoveOn.org, and Greenpeace, Ben & Jerry's, Melissa Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Here's a clip they took from another website. It says Fenton Communications, which has its offices in Washington, D.C., New York, and San Francisco, signed 2 contracts last year with Qatar to develop a communications action plan for an 18-month campaign aimed at delegitimizing Israel and generating international support for the Hamas-run Gaza Strip. There's documents from they have attached, and these could be forged, but I don't think so, with the Justice Department documents showing that they're now signed as foreign agents. Contract worth $390,000, more than we make, with the Office of Her Highness, name's too long to mention, the wife of the Qatari ruler. Separate foundation she chairs. It's the whole thing. So I started looking into it. And in fact, this public relations operation, Fenton, is definitely worth kind of checking out for who they represent. They don't list everybody, but it seems as though it's pretty much mostly left-wing operations. And you start looking into it, and the funny thing is, you start finding the names of people associated with associative sites that feed them news stories. You see the same names cropping up over and over. And the one of my favorite ones is running into this woman, Phyllis Bennis, who's at the Institute for Policy Studies, which is an operation that is kind of a front for something, but they produce this newsletter, online news thing called the FPIF, the Foreign Policy something Foundation. or news. You go to fpif.org, I think, and find it. Anyway, she's a fellow there, and she seems to crop up anytime Fenton does any kind of publicity for anybody in various regular news articles by being quoted profusely. And my favorite example, and then I dig into this, and I find it this kind of interesting. She showed up in 2005 in a Salon magazine article about Cindy Sheehan, and when you do a little research, you find out that Fenton Communications did a pro bono representation of Sheehan. They're the ones who brought her to the fore, and you can take clips from anything about Sheehan, and you can take and put those in Google, and you find article after article after article of pretty much cookie cutter stories about Sheehan. And you'll also notice if you look into, since Obama's got in, they dropped Sheehan because they don't need, it's Obama's war now. And so she's done. So I get the biggest kick out of following this stuff.
So can I just give you from their website, Fenton's track record? We are the firm that helped galvanize public opposition to end apartheid, legitimize global warming as an urgent threat to our future. They're taking credit for this. Compel government bans and restrictions on toxins such as bisphenol A and artificial growth hormones in everyday consumer products. Prevent hard liquor advertising from airing on network TV, establish the National Amber Alert, and create a system at the Centers for Disease Control that tracks data on violent deaths to prevent homicides and suicides. So that's their track record.
Yeah, that's only that's just the tip of their track record iceberg. I mean, they have done a lot of stuff that goes under the radar, a lot of pro bono work for liberal operations. And they also they have a client list that they show.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's huge.
Which has got pretty much every left-leaning operation in the country. And it's actually kind of frightening. But the fact that they've now decided to take on Israel, which I think is disingenuous, to say the least, and it's also probably they had to sign up as a foreign agent to do this because it's against the U.S. interests, generally speaking, and so that's why they had to do all this, go through this rigmarole. I think it's really. I'll look into this operation a little more. I'm sure there's more interesting connections in the past because with Google now you can do some date-limited stuff, and they'll crop up, especially if you know who the players are. In other words, you see these same writers and these same contacts and these same combinations of why is this one person being quoted all the time in regards to this one topic, and you see that people sneak into the public domain like the Cindy Sheehans of the world because they're being promoted. It's probably it needs looking into. Let's put it that way. But anyway, the reason I got triggered by all this is because we got the guy who complained about the Melanie Phillips piece that we ran at the end of a show a couple of weeks ago, or about a week ago, I guess. He basically gave us the laundry list of all the bad things about Israel and the Jewish state. That was essentially the checklist from Fenton.
Oh, really? So you think that a Fenton operative is...
No, I don't think so. I think he was... Well, that's always a possibility. Uh-huh. It's always a possibility, but it could be either an operative because the checklist is there, or it could be just somebody who's been completely
indoctrinated.
Stooged out, indoctrinated already, and this is only the beginning because this campaign is just fairly new.
Okay. In conclusion?
Well, in conclusion, I think that we're going to have to start looking a little more. I think we're getting a little lazy about following the public relations that's behind almost everything we're starting to witness on the mainstream media, to the point where we aren't getting any news. I mean, even back as far as 2005, if you can look up the Salon magazine article on Cindy Sheehan, you can do it by. The writers, I looked at the writers, see if you had any consistent, a lot of times you'll run, especially with The Guardian, you'll find the writers are just write, basic doctrinaire left-wing material. But this guy is just all over the place, so I don't think so. But he has obviously fed a lot of stuff from the PR agency because it makes life so much easier because you get, let me hook you up with so-and-so, they'll tell you about this.
Yeah, here you go.
And so you basically handed a story in a silver platter, and you have no way to get out of the way it's being presented. And this is what's going on. And I resent people telling us that, we're stooges for one thing or another when we're very aware of this mechanism and we uncover it constantly. And I would say that you should really check your own sources. Why are you thinking the way you're thinking?